Sorry about that, folks. On mute. Hello, welcome to our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM live webinar. I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing with our Security Business Unit here at Sumo Logic. Little quick housekeeping before we get going. This live webinar is being recorded, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it afterwards. But I'm going to take some time at the end for any questions that you may have. And while I'm speaking, feel free to click the Q&A button in your webinar window and jot down your questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Now, we've allotted 30 minutes of your time, and I want to ensure that I can get you folks back onto your next meeting on time. So with that, we'll get started here, talking about our Cloud SIEM, which is delivering cloud scale analytics and automation for SecOps professionals just like you. But to get started, we want to make sure that we're all aligned and understanding that Sumo understands after talking to so many customers and businesses and organizations and government agencies out there, what these challenges are that you're facing. The challenge that security operations really has to change. And it comes down to three main reasons. The transformation to cloud that we're seeing with cloud migration spending that's been growing at 6 times the pace of general IT spending, and 3 out of 4 security teams agreeing that their cloud infrastructures are actually generating more security alerts than similar on-prem environments. And this is because legacy SIEMs, legacy security technology and tools weren't built for this cloud transformation, this digital transformation efforts and initiatives. And that's resulted in more threat visibility gaps than ever before. But also with that migration of apps to the cloud, there's been this shift in the threat landscape as well. And it's created this explosion of attack surface. Now, 67% of security professionals said that the increase in the number of security alerts that they're seeing stems from new and evolving threats. And that makes perfect sense. But 55% of these folks in this same study, which you can get on our website, sumologic.com, 55% were actually blaming the increase of their threats on the actual cloud infrastructure that they have in place. And as we know, there's difficulty there. A simple misconfiguration could lead to a major data breach. And this attack surface explosion has been seen not just with mobile devices and laptops, but IoT devices, multi-cloud environments, your containers, and modern apps like load balancing, VPC flows, continuous delivery, and your microservices. Organizations now are facing more zero-day threats, and ransomware attacks continue to succeed. And APTs are still an ongoing concern. And we've seen a lot of that in the news lately, haven't we? But this other challenge and this other pain on the right is pretty visceral. This concept of alert fatigue, the fact that security operations really is no longer a human scale problem. 83% of security teams report that their staff experienced alert fatigue in some shape or form. And 3 out of 4 businesses determined that they would need to hire 3 or more analysts to be able to conquer all of their daily alerts. But we're still in this ongoing resource and cybersecurity skill shortage. And that means that you just can't hire enough people to be able to take care of and address all of these and manually triage all of these alerts. There's just simply too many alerts and you can't get to them all. And none of the traditional approaches that we've seen where working with your legacy SIEM or outsourcing it or trying to hire more experts, none of that will work for the modern SOC, the modern security operations center. Organizations need a modern cloud SIEM to secure their cloud journey, match the changing attack surface, and bring innovation back to the SOC. So a quick overview of what is it that we're delivering here is this different cloud SIEM solution, completely different, with these 6 key differentiators here. The key and paramount in the upper left-hand corner is the fact that our solution is automatically generating actionable insights. And these aren't just prioritized alerts, which we are doing. We are prioritizing the incidents and the threats that we're surfacing and detecting. But these are actionable insights built on data, not just going back 24 hours or 48 hours. We're able to do look backs in weeks to understand and enrich that data with user and network context that we're also pulling in automatically from your different data sources, as well as other sources outside that are usually part of your tradecraft that you're going to go to. Built in, for the scale, built natively in AWS for cloud scalability. The fact that this is a platform that's central to all teams. This isn't just a SIEM in a fishbowl for a couple of folks to use, a couple of guys and gals to use. This is a platform that could be used across all of your different teams, from DevOps, SecOps, IT Ops, and beyond, helping to consolidate tools as well. This is deep search you're about to see, also integrated with our highly tuned modern security interface with streamlined SecOps workflows to make it easier to get through the day and to get through as many of these alerts as you can to help address and mitigate that alert fatigue challenge. The fact that Sumo Logic, we kill at cloud data collection, we're in the cloud, for your cloud, we're able to collect that data and detect across multiple different new threat surfaces. And this ties right back again to the downstream impacts of digital transformation and cloud adoption efforts. And finally here, I hope you'll be able to see some of the rapid time to value as you're looking at the interface with me, guiding you through it, with all the out-of-box content that we have and the rules that we have. So helping you hit the ground running and get up and running with the data that you're going to be bringing in and ingesting into the platform. A platform which is highly intuitive. I think you'll be able to see that for your eyes as well. And also the ability to have self-service onboarding with help tips, hint tips throughout the product, lots of product documentation fully out on sumologic.com with KB articles and such. And this is really the solution that we're going to show you today. And speaking of solution, this is one of a spectrum of solutions that we have in our security intelligence. So today I'm focusing on our Cloud SIEM on the right here. I believe some of you might have actually attended our webinar yesterday on audit and compliance, which was delivered on PCI compliance yesterday. And by the way, as a reminder, we do this series of webinars. We repeat this live every month for you. So if you want to check out any of these other different topics, including our other topics on observability and AWS security, check that out on sumologic.com in our live events and webinars portion of the website. So today, the focus is right on our Cloud SIEM. In this, I want to show you through the lens of a day in an analyst's life using Sumo Logic to be able to address these threats as they're coming through. So with that, I'll flip over to our Cloud SIEM security interface. Just a simple browser tab. I'll pop over here. Okay, what you're greeted with here is the main heads-up display of our Sumo Logic security interface. And really, there's probably one big thing that your eye is drawn to in the center of the page, and that's our Insight Radar. And I'll get to that in just a second. But first, I wanted to describe when it's meeting those challenges of all the data coming in, all those threats and the needles hiding in the needle stack, which is a great analogy because everything looks all so similar. We're able to take in your structured and unstructured data, and we're utilizing our content to then draw those into the product and stream that into the product as records. In this case, I'm looking at a 12-hour view. Here's today's date, January 20th, 2021. And it looks like I've got 1 million records that have been brought into the product. And in fact, as I hover there, it actually revealed to me the exact count. It also shows me at a glance, a little red indicator with a downward arrow. It's a 1% decrease in the last 12-hour period. So what do we do with those records? We apply our algorithms to that, and we're able to then whittle down and fire signals based on those records that have come in. We're whittling it down to 37,000 signals. And this is the information that it looks like in this case, 37,000 is up 1% in the last 12-hour period. And I can change this time span here. I could look at it in a 3-day view, out to a 7-day view. And as you can see, I'm dynamically changing the Insight Radar in the center, as well as my data. So in the past 3 days, we've gone from 8 million records to 223,000 signals. And this is commonly where traditional SIEMs, even next-gen SIEM solution from other providers on the market will stop. They'll leave you with these number of signals, or they would refer to it as alerts or notable events. And that's exactly where then you're going to be left having to manually triage and dig through these and start to investigate. Maybe you'll string together some orchestration and automation techniques, some scripting to try to whittle that down. Now you're going to be doing rule stacking and trying to fine tune it so you can actually get down to, again, that needle in the needle stacks. This is what makes Sumo Logic so unique, is that we're going further for you. And we take those 223,000 signals and we're looking back again, not just over 24-hour period or 48-hour period, we're looking back 2 weeks in time or more in some cases, looking for what we refer to as insights. And this is us collecting and clustering signals together, multiple signals that make up a single insight. In this case, in the last 3-day period, we've surfaced 18 different insights. Insights really is Sumo Logic's opinionated view of critical incidents that need your immediate attention. So say 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, your crew, your SOC team would be coming in, they would open up this product, they would see, okay, we've got our period of time, but then they also have this insight radar. And so at a glance, we've got a lot of customers too that choose to put this heads up display screen on their walls of their SOC, because at a glance, you're seeing the funneling. This is that funnel of fidelity going from records down to insights. You're getting to see sensor status over here on the left. In a production environment, you'd have multiple different sensors that you've configured, or collectors that you've configured, cloud connectors, syslog, our network sensor, which is a Zeek sensor, which comes included. So you can get all that network traffic analysis and meta information out of your network traffic, as well as other collectors for multiple different apps that you want to put together. And all this is out of the box content. On the right-hand side, you're seeing the most recent insight that has fired. And you're not just seeing the insight and the unique name given to it and the reveal of the tactic or the technique or the procedure used in this particular insight, but I'm also seeing the entity, the user that's attached to that. In this case, it looks like it's Rico Dynamite. And I can also see the number of signals. 9 signals made up this one single insight. And the dwell time has been 14 days that this has been going on. And I'm also seeing a baseball card style view here with a heat map indicating the time frame from left to right, January 6th to January 20th. I'm also seeing the severity of the different signals from 0 to 5 at the midline, all the way up to 10. And so here's a good example. Apparently this insight, command and control and exfiltration of data. Look at how stealthy and below the radar all these low severity items are. So that's very important. Then on the lower right-hand side, this is just so the whole team is on the same page. Your SOC team, you can see what what analyst is working on what particular thing, and that's just commenting that's going to bubble up throughout the day as you're working. And I don't have to refresh or hit the space bar to refresh this screen. It is just always updating. And I think it's updated several times as I've spoken here. It's doing it right now. In the center, let's talk about the insight radar. At a glance, we're seeing the funnel of fidelity from records to insights, but now we're visually seeing it play out. On the outer string here, going clockwise, 12 o'clock, and then clockwise around the horn, I'm seeing the ebb and flow of the records as they're being ingested into the platform. And as I said before, this will dynamically change depending on what your view is, chosen on the left here. So again, I'm seeing the ebb and flow of the records that are ingested. I'm also seeing the signals that are being fired with these bar charts, these blue or cyan bars emanating and radially emanating outwards. Again, working 12 o'clock clockwise for a 1-day period. So this is a 24-hour period right now. But at the center, you start to see these insights, which are represented by triangles. And when the triangles, I'll flip over to 3 days because I had a variety of different insights here. Here we go. The red triangles indicate insights that are new and nobody's working on it yet, or at least hasn't taken ownership of them yet. Green indicates ones that are truly closed. So that's great. You want to see as many reds turn to green. And of course, this is again why people put it on their SOC wall, because they, SOC managers and directors and CISOs want to come by and see that the work is getting done. Yellow or orangish color represents an insight that is currently being worked or in progress. But we also in the product have a very customizable and flexible arrangement of our table view as well as our board view, our Kanban style board view. And you're able to customize the titles of what your board is going to be for your different your buckets or stages of your analysis or of your investigation workflows. New, in progress, you might have team A, team B, level 1, level 2. Then there's response remediation. Even if you're using our Spec Ops, which is an optional threat hunting service, they can have their own board view as well. So whenever you've gone and created a custom board view and you've put an insight into those different views, those show up as white triangles here, as white insights. So traditionally, folks would come into the insights menu here, and you would see that board view I just described, where you've got new, in progress, Spec Ops, tier 3, closed. You might be wondering why it's 0 for closed. That's because I'm suppressing it. We're locking that down. We're filtering that out. If I want to take off that filter, we'll see that over a period of time, we have 1,962 closed insights. Do I need to worry about the closed insights? No. In fact, we should be looking to the future. We should be looking to the new stuff that's at hand here. But they're never going to go away. They're here, and they're closed, and they're accessible, and the tags that you've made, the commenting that you've made is absolutely fully searchable, so you can go back in time and look at some of these different attacks or threats that you've faced already. And of course, you can start to piece together maybe commonalities in that, which we service up for you as well. So if we go down this path in the new column of new insights, which are in the period of time, looks like there's 2,000 overall, but that's also getting represented by the fact that closed are almost more than 1,900 of them. The insights are laid out in this view, or by going to the list or table view with a click. Depends on your analyst. Some analysts prefer to look at it this way. Others prefer to look at it in a board style view. You can also filter the view of how you're seeing this. Look at just based on the assignee, the analyst who's working a particular one, the created date, and of course, ascending or descending each one of these filters, severity level, the status of it. Look at all the news first, look at all the pendings next, or the in progress is next. So when I'm looking at a board view, I'm looking at all these insights. This is team collaboration in a nutshell. This is event management, bringing your whole team together to collaborate and be on the same page, singing from the same songbook. And each one of these can be addressed, different pictures or avatars for your different analysts. So then there's a sensibility of a feeling of who's working on it, who's got that. It looks like I've got Alex here working on this particular insight. So Dana, as I'm walking through, I can see different insights. Maybe I'll grab insight 1983 here. Credential access and exfiltration. I'm seeing the entity, which is responsible or involved here. This is a host name. I'm also seeing the dwell time again, 14 days, made up of 5 signals. It's being treated as a high severity. Nobody has this yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. So by clicking and going deeper into the insight, now I'm at my insight details page. So of all the insights I could have been looking at, I've chosen this one. Great. It is Insight 1983, credential access and exfiltration. So there's apparently signs of exfiltration happening, credential access happening, and some other information that's being just chalked up as unknown or other. You can see that there's actions here. I can close the insight. I can delete the insight. Let's see, the status is new. Who's assigned to it? If I want to assign it to myself, which I will, I'll take ownership of it. There we go, Dana Torgersen, Sumo Logic. Now I own it, now I'm the analyst working on this. On the right-hand side here, you're seeing this view of all the signals that make up this insight. And we know that there were 4 unique signals out of 5 total. So it looks like the signals are appearing as different shapes and colors. There's the representation for these shapes and colors to represent the different rules and the content that we're using to generate the signal. This is why the signal was made. And we're showing it again in a timeline view from left to right with the time flowing here from Thursday the 7th of January, Tuesday the 19th of January. And it looks like a whole bunch of activity just happened right around here on the 20th. So this nice timeline view helps when you hover over it. Again, not only just the color and the shape, in this case a blue diamond, which represents that it's a rule that fired. It is a rare GIS guard duty alert. Instance credential exfiltration, severity level of 1. Okay. And it looks like some time passed. And then it looks like we had some other activity. Now I don't have to just look at this view here. I can also scroll down and see it played out in the ascending order of the events. So here we are, something hit on the 6th. I can see the device IP address involved, the user Rico.dynamite versus his brother Napoleon, I suppose. I can also then see AWS guard duty alert, unauthorized access for an IAM user instance credential exfiltration. Okay. And then within quick succession, within 30 minutes, a rare GIS guard duty alert came off. Then we had another guard duty alert pen test with an IAM user using Kali Linux. Okay, that's interesting. But then the real hit here, looks like the straw that broke the camel's back, was a severity level of 8 that came through for an AWS guard duty alert regarding behavior with EC2 traffic that was of an unusual volume. And when I'm looking at these different signals that are making up this one single insight, I just have to simply click on it. And now I'm actually digging down. Now I've started my investigative process, working backwards from the insight that Sumo said you better look at to the signals that make up the insight. Now that I'm in one of the signals, I'm starting to get into the log data now, the records. And I can view this and export it as a CSV file or a JSON file. If I've already got tools that we're used to and accustomed to using, I'm going to use that. I'm going to want to export it and maybe throw it into that tool set or that trade craft. As I'm looking through this particular record, And there could be multiple records that make up just this one signal as well. There could be redundant records too that are firing and firing and firing, but it's telling the same alert, the same warning or notification. I'm simply seeing the device IP address here, details coming through, threat identifier, the username information. Where did we get this data? Here's the ingest source, and I can click and drill down into that if I want. The mapping of where it fits into the different pieces within our solution, and that's how we mapped it in. Different extracted fields that are also then mapped out for you that you can dig into. As I'm going through here, you might have noticed that my my mouse is flickering here with a little blue. When you hover, there's a little blue context action that shows up. So just by hovering, I'm not clicking anything yet, but just by hovering, I see those 6 little blue dots. When I click on those blue dots, up comes my context actions menu. Excuse me. And that menu is immediately giving you the ability to take searches or actions on that piece of data. And this shows up throughout across IP address, host names, URLs, and I think MAC addresses as well. And so here you're able to then instantly do a search. I'm not typing in some big query. I'm just literally looking and clicking. I could search all my insights and signals and all of my entities for this particular piece, which is a IP address. Or I could search all of our records for that particular IP address. Again, I'm not learning some new query language. I'm just clicking and going through. Now, I say that kind of cavalier, I realize. You have not lost your full text, full query language power of Sumo Logic. This is an additive way, especially for security analysts, to simply get up and running as they can start to dig into all these different records. And in particular, what I'm doing here is I'm drilling down into this IP address and where else, what other records do we have on this particular IP address, other than what got me here, which was this signal that fired, which is part of an insight, which looks like a critical incident is happening. And now, as you can see, I've narrowed down by the date stamp and by the IP address, and I now see all these other notifications that have fired on this particular IP address. And I share this to you just to further reveal how much deeper you can go and how easy it is to go deeper as you're going into your investigative process. So I'll take a step back to where we were, which is this particular signal. And I was showing you that there is different context actions you can take. So let me go back and show that. Here again, with these context actions, you might notice all these other actions. Well, this is a great example. We evaluated the process, the workflows that security analysts and SOC analysts are always following. And instead of scribbling down notes, left and right alongside your workstation, and then launching tab after tab in your browser for all of your tradecraft, all of your tools that you trust and you use every day, this actually gives you a launch pad to go into those tradecraft. So you see an IP address, you want to run it down and see what ThreatCrowd has to say about it. We even threw in, here's a quick link to go right back into my Sumo Logic for a full search. Again, they're not going to force you to do the query. We've actually built that query into the language for this single button here for you to make it very straightforward and easy. VirusTotal, you want to see what they've got to say about it? Click there and it'll just crack open another web browser tab and drill right down on that IP address within VirusTotal to see what they say. That's pretty much it. The rest of it, due to time, I'm not going to go any deeper into the details, but maybe a glimpse here would be to show that a particular rule fired to create the signal. Well, I can evaluate the rule that fired by simply clicking on the rule. Now, within my content menu, it's already automatically drilled down into the view of that rule. I can see who created the rule. I can see the last time it was updated, the last signal, and the date stamp of when a signal was generated from this rule. I'm also seeing a calendar view here of by the week through October, November, December, and now into January. This particular rule had triggered right back here. There was 8 signals created back on November 10th, apparently. There was 8 signals. This is what a rule looks like. So just a quick glimpse. I'm trying to be cognizant of the time as well. You set up rules, both our content. I think we've got more than 500 rules right now out of the box, ready to go. But that doesn't stop you from cloning a rule and then editing it to manipulate and customize it to your exacting needs. Whatever that may be, whatever of these variables that you might want to change, just feel free to rename it. But if the rule is triggered, it's going to trigger when a record matches this particular expression. And this was looking for that rare GIS guard duty alerts that would be coming through. What are you going to do when you see that? You're going to create a signal. You're going to create it on the entity, pivot it off that. You're going to use this particular name. You're going to use this description. You have the stage, put it on the unknown other stage with a constant severity of 1. Maybe you'd rather have that set up as a dynamic severity assigned by Sumo Logic. Or maybe 1 was too lightweight. Maybe you deem this to be a lot more important than what we had, our threat engineers felt it was. Then you could slide that on over to 8, 9, all the way up if you want. And then determine whether the history of this rule and when it's fired, and any insights and all insights that that particular rule, which generated this signal, has helped in the generation of an insight. So again, I'm going much deeper down here. I just wanted to give you a quick glance at how simple it is to be creating this content off a lot of the content that we've already included in the product. At the end of the day, or I should say at the end of the insight, because you've gone through and you've looked at all the different signals and all the details of the signals, and you've deemed this to be a legitimate threat, clearly you're going to want to respond to it and take action. Now, we have the ability to have automated, auto-triggered actions right here in the product. We also have the ability to have on-demand actions, and this is all customizable over in our gear icon configuration section here. But at a quick glance, actions I could take on this insight. This is clearly looking at all these signals here, GIS, guard duty alert. This is clearly a account escalation, an AWS account privilege escalation is occurring here. So I want to deal with this. Maybe I want to email it out to folks. Maybe I want to wake folks up on Slack. Maybe I want to send off and coordinate with ServiceNow for ticketing, make sure that a ticket is created on this. Maybe I want to send it off to a SOAR tool that we've already paid good money for. So we're going to want to run playbooks or something off of that. Or it's time to close the insight. When you're ready to close an insight, you choose your resolution of it was resolved. That means we worked the entire incident to its to the end, or it was a false positive initially, or no action was needed, or we've noticed that this is a duplicate, in which case it gets flagged as such. Any additional comments that I want to add, and then I can simply close out the insight. I'll hit cancel here for the time being. So this is a quick overview of the search interface, which is our heads-up display, along with the concept of insights and using the product in the day in the life as you're investigating insights. Again, the purpose is to bring down all of that records to a handful of insights that you and your team can easily get to in the time allotted in a real business day. And that's regardless. If you're a large enterprise that has 24/7 teams of 3 coming in, you've got 50 analysts. We've got a couple of customers that are that size, and they use this product in this way. This helps put more time in the day. This helps ease the burden of level 1 and level 2 analysts, so you can all be working on more interesting, intellectually curious security activities. Maybe you have more time now to do more vulnerability testing or pen testing. Maybe you have time now to do more threat hunting, in which case you can also use this entire platform as your secure data lake to go looking for these data. Again, that's probably beyond the scope of this, but we do have a webinar coming up next week on the 27th with SANS Institute, if you want to learn more about threat hunting using the Sumo Logic platform. So with that, I'm going to flip back over here because I wanted to also let folks know about another aspect with the fact that I'm talking about features and workflows, but it's also people. The support that you need when you need it most. And Sumo Logic provides not just professional services to help you get onboarded quickly, but also premium support with our dedicated technical account managers, with the ability to have walking through and white gloving your experience to get you through the different stages of both onboarding and ownership of the product. And at the top is this special operations. We call it Spec Ops for short. This is our mission-focused, team-oriented threat hunting as a service. And this is an elite team of cybersecurity experts that we have here at Sumo Logic now across the intelligence community, military, and top industries, working side by side, basically as a force multiplier for your existing SOC team. We've got customers with, as I mentioned, 50 analysts working 24/7 around the clock, and they went with the service because they see the value that there's no way you're going to have the time and the onboarding and the resources needed to get somebody up and running when you can actually just expand your team instantly using a great service like this. And there's a couple of options for that, and I believe this is detailed out on the website as well. Other folks use it because they are a smaller sized organization and they truly need that extra help, that extra bandwidth to be looking for these threats and to help tuning the content rules too, based on what they're seeing from the web and from their tradecraft. Well, I think I've probably unloaded enough information on you folks, so I'll leave it at that. Let's flip over here. Any questions? Again, a reminder, just click the Q&A button and ask away. And I see a couple that have come through, so I'll jump on those right now here. All right. It's a question. How do we have visibility into EC2 host data in AWS, assuming we don't have an EDR on the host in the Sumo or Sumo CSE console? How do we have visibility in EC2 data, host data in AWS? If you don't have an EDR on the host, that's a good question. But we plug into multiple different, many AWS services. So you should be able to pull that data either out of, you might be seeing coming through CloudTrail, you might see that coming through GuardDuty. I realize that not everybody might have an EDR on the host, but along that same blade, we also know that a lot of people have invested heavily in EDR over the years, endpoint detection and response for those that are wondering. Folks from Malwarebytes, CrowdStrike, Symantec, Carbon Black now with VMware. And so again, even if you have those sources, we're able to pull that and ingest that in and get that into the Sumo Logic platform for investigation. Another question, can I get more details about the threat hunting demo? Yes, I'm glad I brought it up then. That is on sumologic.com under a section, which I believe is under resources as a menu item, is a selection where you can make another menu choice for live events and demos. I believe it's under that page. If you scroll down, you'll see the January 27th event, but you can also log into SANS.org and you'll find it as their facilitated event, which they're hosting on our behalf for Sumo Logic, and that's for January 27th. I believe you need to create a SANS Institute login account, but a lot of us in the security community, we've already done that maybe years ago. So if you haven't, it's free, it's easy, just using an email address and set that up. And SANS makes it really easy for you to log in and register for that event, and then actually join the event using your devices, mobile, they've got mobile apps as well, to join that. And that is a threat hunting webinar hosted by SANS Institute. And it's going to feature our Spec Ops team members, both James Plager, who runs our Spec Ops team, and Brian Gardner. I'm sure they're going to introduce themselves and actually walk through their concepts, their mental thought process on how to hunt for threats, and then how they're able to actually utilize our Cloud SIEM solution from Sumo Logic to be able to facilitate that as well. I realize we've gone a couple minutes over. My apologies, folks. We'll end this here. And I wanted to thank you again for your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. And as a reminder, a recording of this will be distributed later for you, and of course any colleagues that maybe you realize maybe this got more security focused than you expected, in which case you would wish that some of your colleagues in SecOps or in your SOC team would like to listen in. Feel free to make that available to them as well, or invite them back next month to our live webinar series. With that, again, thank you. I'm Dana Torgersen. Have a great day.